Good morning. Today is Monday, April 18th, 2011, and this is the CALLERLAB Convention in Las Vegas. This session is called Association Revitalization, and that can be a very important topic. My name is Betsy Gotta, and I am the moderator for this session. And the panelists are Arnold Gladson. Where are you from, Arnold? From Cedar Park, Texas, and Jim Maczko from San Diego, California, or close enough. Did you gentlemen decide who wants to speak first? Okay, so Arnold pointed to Jim. He was quick. So we'll start with Jim Maczko.
Good morning. I do come to this from a different perspective. I'm not a caller. I'm a dancer. And I intend to stay that way. I enjoy dancing to the calling that you folks provide, and we realize how important the callers are to us, and we're pleased that we have the opportunity to come and participate in the CALLERLAB conventions from time to time. Haven't made a lot of them, but a number of them over the past few years, and always go away with a rejuvenation, and hopefully this is what you're going to take back to your local associations. And of course, dancers are organized a little bit differently than callers. Typically, callers organize into associations as individuals because that's what you are, where we as dancers congregate as clubs, and then the clubs create the associations. And a lot of times there's a lot of benefits in unity, and that's what you found as callers and joining together through CALLERLAB. You exchange ideas and create new programs and develop new ideas to improve and perpetuate the activity. Now, the dancers organizations really aren't that much different. My personal perspective, coming from San Diego, where we are actually blessed with the fact that the San Diego Square Dance Association is sponsored by the City of San Diego Park and Recreation Department. And as a result of that relationship, which goes back to 1948, we have the benefit of utilizing some very, very nice facilities within Balboa Park. Large ballrooms, 9,000 square foot wood floor ballroom, another 7,500 square foot wood floor ballroom, all at no cost to we, the square dancers. But the clubs need to belong to our organization to reap these benefits. And the only remuneration the association seeks in return is the support of the club's dancers participating in these particular activities. We have monthly third Saturday roundups, and we have an annual festival the beginning of November each year, also in Balboa Park, which is a beautiful setting for any activity, and then having the wood floors and good calling and good sound equipment and everything, it all comes together for the benefit of everyone. Again, the organization is made up of clubs. Not that many clubs anymore, unfortunately, just as everywhere else. Even though we have these benefits, we haven't been able to bring as many new dancers into the activity as we would hope. But through various functions that the association puts on, through Square Dance Day at the fair, participating in Walk for Life to support cancer, and MS Walk coming up later this month that we'll be participating in, we're trying to attract more enthusiasm, more interest into the square dance activity. And, of course, Mike Seastrom's keynote address this morning, addressing the team approach, something we have not tried, but certainly something we're open to, and we're going to take these ideas back to our association. Again, it's cooperation. We bring the clubs together to exchange ideas, just similar to what we'll be doing here this morning. And we as panelists have our perspective, but we hope that you as participants in the panel will share your ideas with us so we can take them back and learn from you, just as hopefully you're able to pick up some tidbits from our experiences. I've been dancing since 1954 and have been active in the organizational side of the activity virtually all that time. And it's rewarding to be active in the activity and see it succeed in certain areas. Unfortunately, we haven't had as much success of late as we would like. But again, through cooperation. And in San Diego, we have a good working relationship with the San Diego County Callers Association and the San Diego Round Dance Instructors Organization. And there again, sharing ideas and having a good working relationship has benefited everyone. Our local callers organization has an annual dance, and the round dance instructors have an annual dance. And they're able to utilize similar facilities because both the callers and round dance instructors are associate members of the dancers, the San Diego Square Dance Association. And it has worked well for all these many years, and we hope that it will continue to improve. And one of the benefits of these organizations working together, San Diego happened to be host to the 51st California State Square Dance Convention just a week ago, again in Balboa Park in San Diego, where the facilities were made available at nominal cost, and we attracted 1,300 dancers to the state convention, which is a nice spike over the 900 we had just a year ago. So we're real pleased with that. And again, through the cooperation of the Callers Association and the Round Dance Instructors Organization, they provided the sound for the convention at about 2/3 of the cost of what we were paying outside sound contractors to provide for our state conventions each year. So again, cooperation is the key for everything. And we hope that we can encourage more cooperation amongst our own clubs who are not charged a nickel in dues. The dancers are not charged a nickel in dues to belong to the San Diego Square Dance Association. Again, because we seek their support for our activities, which we, the association, don't feel the dancers support enough, but we keep offering them excellent dance opportunities. We have typically out-of-the-area callers we bring in for our monthly dances, and then for our annual festivals, we bring in top-notch callers from throughout the country. We've had some of the top callers participate. Recently, Tim Mariner called for us, and Bob Beyer and others are coming to call for us in the years ahead. We promote these events from year to year and try to instill enthusiasm to bring people back to our activities. We do have competition in other areas where not just non-square dance activities, but we have other square dance activities that tend to overlap or are held very, very close in time frame to our major festival, and we're disappointed about that because it is drawing people from our activity, but we're trying to improve ours so that we win them back and they support our functions. The San Diego Square Dance Association is a 501c4 nonprofit. We weren't able to achieve 501c3 status, but we do have nonprofit status from that perspective. And again, associations come together, or clubs come together to create associations to provide strength and unity in an area. Similarly, associations gather together to form state and regional organizations. We, the 19 associations within California, have joined together to create the California Square Dance Council. And it meets 3 times a year and hosts the state convention each year. And again, you can accomplish more together than you can individually. And this was the impetus that back in 1978 that created the movement to create a national dancer organization, the United Square Dancers of America. And in 1980, the United Square Dancers of America was created and held its first official meeting at the National Square Dance Convention in 1981 in Seattle. And this year, Louis, here's a plug, in Detroit, we will be hosting our 30th anniversary at the Detroit National Convention, and hoping that all of you are going. And I know Louis Friedlander, the general chairman in the back, is hoping you'll be there too. So we know that Detroit's planning a good time for us, and we're looking forward to participating. And again, the United Square Dancers of America interacted with the other national organizations, the National Executive Committee, CALLERLAB, Roundalab, and others, and together we could see that it was beneficial for us to join together in some format. And early in the 2000s, there was discussion between these organizations about creating something that we could all work on together to save or salvage our square dance activity. And that was the creation of ARTS, the Alliance of Round, Traditional, and Square Dance. And as we lost one of our leaders in the activity with the passing of Bob Osgood in 2003, that was the same time that the ARTS was being born. We lost a star in the sky, but we were attempting to replace Bob's input with a new entity that could hopefully have the vision that Bob provided for so many years through his leadership of Sets in Order and other activities throughout the nation, including the impetus for CALLERLAB. And we feel that arts has come together, and there's far more cooperation amongst these national organizations that did not exist previously, but is currently as strong as it's ever been. We're sharing ideas and working together for specific causes. One of the achievements of arts is the creation of the You Too Can Dance website, which Betsy and Roy Goddard are very, very instrumental in establishing. And it's Roy and Betsy Gotta who are here this weekend as the representative of the governing board of arts, representing arts at the CALLERLAB convention. And we're very appreciative of their activities within arts as well as throughout the square dance activity. And I can go on and on about arts, but I think these other folks deserve an opportunity to share their input as well. So please.
Thank you, Jim. Again, my name is Arnold Gladson. I live in the Austin, Texas area, a little town called Cedar Park, which is a suburb of Austin, Texas. We have an association named the Austin Square and Round Dance Association. They, too, are an association of clubs. We have about 13 clubs that belong to this association, and they're kind of far-ranging. We got some clubs that are like 80 miles away from little town LaGrange and Gonzales, San Marcos, and they're kind of little towns that are around Austin that join into the association. And for a while, we had one little town called Marble Falls. And that was what our association was made of. And I am a caller for one of the clubs in the organization, and we joined the association because we wanted it to help not only our club, but promote square dancing, because we always felt like the association should be something that can really help to promote square dancing. And the way that they do that were various ways. So they asked me to share some of the ways that our association is doing that to help promote square dancing. Because as a caller, obviously, our goal is to get more dancers into the activity and continue to grow and teach them and learn how to do it. That's what our role is as a caller. Make it fun for them, make it an entertaining activity. But we have to work really hard to get the dancers, and we need support from the other clubs, all the clubs, to get dancers to come. And they all need to be thriving, because if only one club it doesn't work, because there's people in all different areas, or different reasons, or different types of clubs. Different, they have different needs. There's some that have dancers been dancing for years that are doing all plus, and they don't want to mess with easy stuff, and they don't want to take on new dancers. They only want plus. All that goes on, and the association has to step back and help that process by looking at all the clubs in their area and be the contact and the dissemination of information to non-dancers of where they can go to find the need to fit into our activity. And, of course, each club has to promote. But if you develop a little fiefdom where you got all these little clubs going out, what happens is it tends to divide up the dancers, if you will, causes confusion. So what the association tries to do is to be sort of that collective sounding board to the non-dancers to do that. And they do that by supporting advertising from monies that they get from dances. We do our association does once a year, they call it Mid-Tex. It's their big dance. And they take a committee they make up a committee of all delegates that are appointed from the clubs to work on this. And they make like 10 or 12 people. And they spend all year working on this dance. It's a big blowout weekend dance. Weekend festival basically is what it is for the Austin area. We usually hire a big name caller to come in and do this dance. And this committee works, and I served on that one year before I went into calling, and it was a very good experience. It was a very good experience because I worked with all these people from these other clubs I didn't know, and we spent 8 months planning this dance. And you went through everything, planning all the decorations, and made it a big special festival. And it helped to get to know what the other clubs were, especially as a dancer, that we did that. And so this association provided that sort of conduit to do that. Now, you could argue, well, each club could do their own dance. But one of the problems we have in the Austin area is that clubs are, 2, 3 squares, some maybe 4, some maybe 5 squares. And when you have a big dance or something like that, it tends to draw everybody together. And what we also do, the association provides a calendar that all the clubs can honor, that they can go to. So they finally got it on the web. It took a long time, but they used to call so-and-so, and she put you on the calendar, and then you'd know. But the nice thing was when a club wanted to do a big dance themselves, or like an anniversary dance or something like that, a special dance, they could grab that spot on Saturdays, because we have no clubs that dance regularly on Saturday nights. They could grab that Saturday. The association would publish it through their website, let all the other clubs know about it, and then they have a regular newsletter they send out once a month to everybody. That you put it in the newsletter, and you can actually reserve that site so that that's the only show in town, and hopefully get all the square dance community to come together to this, special dance, anniversary dance, and you schedule 1 or 2 of those a year. So that's how the association provided a service to the clubs in our area to help revitalize what was going on and revitalize what the clubs were doing. And then, as I said, from this big dance we had once a year, they'd have some leftover money, so they would start using it to pool advertising, to do advertising around the community, square dancing, this and that. And, there's this whole topic of how good, effective that is, but we're always trying something. This year they financed the printing of bookmarks that we could give the clubs, and they gave them to all the clubs. Square dancing's fun and all that kind of stuff that you could give to each of the clubs to pass out to people in their area to help with stuff like that. They also have of course, like any state, we have a big state organization, Texas State Square and Round Dance Federation Association. I think that's what it all is, but it's a big state organization. Each association belongs to the state, and the state has a program of providing these exchange cards, these like gift cards that you sell, and you get them at a 3% discount. And the association passes that down to the club levels, and the clubs can order from their association person who coordinates this and use that as a fundraiser for their club, because what they do is they buy these en masse from all the clubs ordering 500 grocery store debit cards. They get a 3% discount, and that the state takes a cut, and the association gets a little bit, and the clubs get most of it, like 60% of it. But it's a neat program, and it's something that could really only be done through an association, because you wouldn't have enough volume to buy it. And each club can go to that association, and whoever the designated person is, and they order those for them. And, it's a little way to help the clubs make money. And that's really the role, I think, that associations do. And that's what we see in the Austin area, and they've been very successful at it for our area. And it's worked pretty well for them. So those are things we're doing in the Austin area. Betty, you have some stuff?
Yeah. My name is Betsy Gotta, and I'm from New Jersey. And I looked at association revitalization, and Jim and Arnold have talked about how when you have an association, there's strength in numbers, and you can do things because you have a bigger group that you could not do individually or in your individual club. But what happens if the organization has been there so long and sat there so long that everybody goes, I don't care? Then you need to try and figure out how to make it live again. Or maybe you need to just take it and give it its polite burial. There is a handout here. Yeah, Arnold's going to pass out the handout. And I'm going to say, and this is whatever organization, dancer organization, caller organization, club organization, any of these, I think these ideas that I have will apply to. First thing, you need to look at the organization and figure out why it's not thriving. What was its original purpose? Is it fulfilling that purpose? Has that need gone away, and do we need to focus on something else? Is the organization still needed? Maybe the need has gone away. We had an organization in New Jersey, the Square Dance Council of New Jersey, which we're attempting to revitalize now. It was formed back in 1984 when there was a first national convention bid from Baltimore to support the Baltimore National Convention, because Baltimore and New Jersey are not that far away. States are smaller in the east. And it coordinated the efforts of the different dancer and caller and cuer associations to raise some seed money for the 84 National Convention in Baltimore. It did that again for the 2000 convention in Baltimore. In between, we ran state conventions, and this organization coordinated all of that. Well, we haven't had a state convention in a number of years, and we're not sure we're going to ever do that again. And there is a New England bid for a national, so maybe we've needed to support that. But we looked at the organization and said, is it still needed? What else, other purpose can we find for it to serve? If we're not raising money for a seed bid for some convention and we're not doing a state convention, why do we have the organization and what else can we do? And that's what you need to focus at. If the need is still there, and the organization purpose is still viable, why are people not attending? First thing, can we change the meeting time to better suit those who are still active? Can we make, instead of having one meeting a month, do we need to meet that often? Can we meet quarterly, every other month? Review all of these ideas. Can the meetings be better run to reduce the time spent repeating the same things over and over again? Any of us have been in meetings where there was one person who had a good idea and several other people who said, yes, that's a good idea. And they all had to raise their hands, and they all had to be heard, and they all had to say, yes, that's a good idea, and none of that needed to be said. But if you can manage to cut people off so that we focus on what else can we do with a good idea rather than going yes, 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 then that organization will be of more interest. If the meeting is boring, people don't want to be there, plain and simple. If we have the same people doing the same things, are there potential new members we can attract? Are there other people who might have come into the activity who are a little shy and they don't feel comfortable becoming a leader until somebody says, Susan, you have this talent here for whatever, and we'd like you to come and tell us about it because we might be able to do something to help promote square dancing. And maybe that makes Susan feel comfortable enough to come out. How can we bring back inactive members? Those are all the questions that I think you should focus on if you're looking at an organization and to revitalize it and try and figure out where to go. Survey the people who are active to see if they have ideas for changes to revitalize the group. Maybe some people are frustrated and they've been trying to do something and nobody's paid any attention. Well, we need to do that. And here's something that I find I've seen before. If a group has been going on and going on and going on and doing the same thing, people often take it for granted. They don't value it until we say, well, we've decided that this group is no longer necessary and we're going to close it down. And then you hear, but, I was going to. And so if you say and let people know what you are considering, then they may find that there is value. They see value in this association, and they might be more willing to take an active part. Brainstorm the members for ways to change the organization to meet the members' needs. Use more than one form of communication. Email a survey, but also have a face-to-face meeting. Not everybody, no matter how much we think and want it, not everybody is comfortable using email. Plain and simple. Not everybody is comfortable on the Internet. Not everybody has 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 computers. Not everybody is sitting there attached to the real world. I just spent 3 days up near Zion National Park, and the place where I stayed, the Internet service was down. I thought it was great. But I know that there would be people who would be sitting there shaking like a leaf because they couldn't connect. Mail the survey and notice to those... Arnold has to go check his mail. He's shaking now. Mail the survey and notice to those who don't have email. Follow up with phone calls for those members who did not attend or respond. And let them know they were missed. Sometimes people say, well, I didn't go and nobody noticed, so who cares? Let them know. We missed you. We wanted your ideas. And one of the most important things, I think, is be flexible. Consider all the ideas. Too often when you've been doing the same things, people say, well, we've always done it this way. Yeah. I've seen square dance clubs, and I'll go to the club level first, I've seen square dance clubs who are breaking their backs to provide the same quality of refreshments that they've always had when the members don't want to do it anymore. Well, then have cold water and pretzels. Don't make people do something they don't want to. And if somebody says, well, why don't we have refreshments? People say, it seemed to be too much trouble. If people want to volunteer, that's great, but we are not going to have a refreshment rotation. We'd rather have you out dancing. Change it. If somebody really wants refreshments, then I bet you people will volunteer. I used to run a club, a caller run club, and Roy and I provided hard candy and pretzels and cold water, and I think coffee. And one lady in our club retired from her job nursing, and she had 140-some cookie recipes she wanted to try, but she was health conscious and didn't want her husband or her to gain weight, so she brought them out to the dance and shared them with everybody else. And the other dancers didn't feel the need to interfere with Helen bringing food, but they actually more than once took a collection to try and help offset the cost. And so that worked. But that was just a natural thing, and that you have to kind of sometimes let the natural thing happen. Do away with the artificial thing that is creating barriers. Let the natural thing happen. Do not get bogged down in procedures. Our local dancer association, who shall remain nameless, recently sent a letter of clarification by email of who was eligible to represent a club at a rate. I do have a college degree. I am a reasonably intelligent person. By the time I read it 3 times, I didn't care. That is too much detail and too much procedure. And I don't attend their meetings, and I don't want to. Luckily, in that area, the Callers Association and the Dancers Association cooperate, but I'm not needed to attend. I do not need to attend their meetings. We have a representative the callers send, and I am not she. But look for the new members. Give them something they need. Our Callers Association has kind of had ups and downs in the time I've been in it. First time we were meeting monthly. And it got to the point where it was like, oh, yeah, another meeting. We're not going. Oh, yeah, blah, blah. So that's when we looked at what we were doing, and we changed kind of where we were, made it more central, and changed the meetings to quarterly. Then what we did was it seemed like the business meeting always seemed to take too long, so the educational portion, which is what a lot of people really want, they want that sharing of ideas, that went by the wayside or got shortened. Well, we changed the idea of the meeting to the Education Association is first. The first hour of the meeting is the workshop, and the subject is announced in advance, and we try and have different ideas presented and also encourage participation. Like one time we might have a discussion of different problems that came up while we're calling and how we dealt with that particular problem. Because I may not have seen that problem before, but if it comes up next time, I have an idea for a solution. But encourage participation. Don't just have somebody presenting and everybody else sitting there going, yeah, yeah. Have the members contribute. Have a roundtable discussion. One of the best sessions I think we had at CALLERLAB was the war stories, where people told of all the things that had gone wrong and whatever they had done. Because trust me, at some point, if you're a caller, things are going to go wrong. If you're a dancer and in a Dancers Association, there will be glitches. There was one time the association had a big dance scheduled at a hall they had used several times before. The main maintenance person who would normally open up the hall was going to be away. He knew he was going to be away. He had a planned substitute. Somehow the planned substitute dropped the ball. We all arrived to set up for the dance, and the building was locked and closed. The man, this is in New Jersey, the man who would open the building was in Chicago. There was no contact number for the substitute person. They ended up calling the cell phone of the original contact person, and he tried to call the substitute and didn't get through. So he said, there's a lockbox there with a key in it, and you have my permission to break into the lockbox. Now we have, you can't make this up. Now we have a bunch of mainly the gentlemen were working on it, a bunch of men dressed up in lovely pastel shirts, nice square dance clothes, ties, etc., hacking and the things we produced out of the cars and trucks. You know, there was a tire iron, there was an axe, there was all, and this lockbox was there. It was stuck, but they hacked the thing off the building and broke into it and got the key. And the dance was delayed about half an hour. We lost the pre-rounds in the first tip, but. Now you have an idea. If there's going to be a substitute, make sure you get the contact number for the substitute. Don't have to call the guy who went away on vacation. That's the sort of ideas that you need to share. So now our Callers Association, to go back to where I was, once we had revitalized with better workshop time and fewer meetings, we had a nice burst of activity. And then we had the same people doing the same things again. And we said, we need more callers. Because I personally have too many nights, I have too many potential opportunities to call that I cannot take, especially for beginner parties, because they call what they think is several months in advance, and I'm booked like 2 years out. So I want somebody I can say, Arnold, would you take this beginner party? But we didn't have enough callers, so we looked around, and our association at that point was blessed with 3 accredited caller coaches, and we ran some callers classes. And that, of course, gave us a whole new crop of people to bring into the association, and they are all enthusiastic and started revitalizing. So try and bring people in. If you're in the Square Dance Club, make sure you cater to your new dancers. Arnold was saying about if it's a plus club, they may not want to bother with the newer people. Make sure that you set it up so people who are willing to will bother with the new people, will come out and dance. Have an invitation dance for the new people, and invite people who say, yeah, for one night I'll be able to be happy dancing with the new folks, and make sure you make it fun. But look for the new people and draw them in. Brand new square dancers are scared out of their shoes. If they came to a dance and the ceiling fell in, someone would believe it was their fault, one of the new dancers. So when you say, come out to the club and dance, they go, well, I don't feel, I'm not good enough, I'll break down the square. You have to actually reach out and bring them in. Look for the new people and bring them in. I already said about holding the education session before the meeting. Change where the group meets. Change when the group meets. Our home Square Dance Club used to be on the Rutgers University campus. Rutgers is the state college of New Jersey, and we were students and some alumni and friends. And at some point in time, due to various things which you don't care about, it got really hard to get halls on the university, and we left campus. And so the whole tenor of the meeting, the group started to change as people who were in it and dancing got older and started their careers, they got married, they had families. When we were on campus, we danced second and fourth Thursday, because Friday and Saturday were date nights, and Sunday was the night you did the homework you'd put off for the whole rest of the weekend. So we danced second and fourth Thursday evenings. Well, if you have a young family and a career and kids in school, you can't come out on a Thursday evening. We dance first and third Sunday afternoons, and we provided a place for the kids to play. And as the kids got older, some of them learned to dance with us. Because we had some kids dancing with us, then we attracted some other people with families. And so the whole club has revitalized by changing into a family club from a university club. Try a different way. That same square dance club, the Rutgers Promenaders, had a small enough core. I wouldn't have given us, this would be around our 50th anniversary, which was 6 years ago or so, I would not have given us another 2 years. We were lucky if we got 2 squares on the floor, and people were coming out, but it was like, oh yeah. And we said, well, we haven't held lessons in forever, since we left campus. And so we need to figure out a way to hold lessons. But people had families, they had careers, they had other activities. There was no way they could do another night of lessons. And I share the calling with another caller. Both of us were working enough nights. There was no time for us to do another set of lessons. So what we ended up doing was doing lessons an hour before the club meets on Sunday afternoons. Then every other tip is wherever the lessons people are, and they are invited to stay for the entire remainder of the dance. Every other tip is mainstream. The rest of the tip is class. Then mainstream, then class. And we encourage the people who are, dance mainstream and plus and advanced who attend our group, and we do have people who dance all of those programs who attend our group. We encourage them, of course, to dance with the new students and mix, and they've done a really good job because the club has since grown so that we have at least 4 squares on the floor, if not 5 or 6. When we get visitations, it's been more, and it really has helped. What that takes, though, is the caller to do a lot of homework, because the caller has to be able to call something that feels like a dance with the first 20 basics. Not all of us callers can do that. There are good sessions here for you to go to. There's a basic session later on that talks about working with basic 1 and 2. But that's part of it. The caller needs to be flexible. The people involved in the association need to be flexible. We all need to look at where we are, where do we want to go, and whether or not this organization, whichever one we're trying to revitalize, is going to be the vehicle which will take us to where we want to go.
One thought that came to my mind when we talk about callers associations, the important thing is that when she was talking about getting people to attend the meetings and getting here and we all sit around, what do we do? And a lot of them want to come for the educational versus that. The whole thing that makes it work is, especially for caller associations, because I've worked with the local callers association and also the state callers association that we have, and the whole thing that really makes it work is that the callers want to participate and do something. I mean, it doesn't work for you to just come and not do anything or offer to do anything. It's a collective thing, and if you let the people that are running the association know, this is what I'd like to do. Can we have a session on get-outs from such a thing for one of our meetings to make it interesting to you? That would be interesting. I'd like to get that, and probably others would. That kind of thing can happen. But what happens too often is people come to the meeting, and they come there and they say, well, you guys didn't have anything fun. And the next meeting, they don't want to come back. And it's hard for the organizers to know what is going to be of interest to you. It really does take your input. And I think we have a responsibility as callers, if we're going to make our association of callers strong, this Callers Association, stronger, we need to all be a part of the team. And I think we all need to say, look, let's do something to do this. Because a lot of times you'll have, like you said, 3 caller coaches in your association, which is very fortunate. A lot of callers out in we got callers all over Texas that we're lucky to have that kind of quality people hanging around. They're 400 miles away. but we have good people that can do good presentations that you can band together and work it out and sometime get one of these guys passing through if we have to do a special session. So that is a responsibility I think you have, and I think you said that well, that we really all have to work together to do that. So you want to get some of their ideas?
Yeah.
All right. If any of you guys have some things you'd like to share, what I'd like to do is I'm going to bring the mic to you. I'll be the official mic carrier. And when you start out, would you please say your name and where you're from? Because it'll go on the recording, and speak into the mic, and we'll be sure everybody gets it. Do you want to start, sir?
Sure.
Mike Callahan from New York. We actually have a pretty good Dancers Association, good leadership. A couple of things they do, they rotate their meetings various nights of the week. In other words, so everybody can show up. Like September, they'll have it on a Monday. October, they'll have it on a Tuesday. November, they'll have it on a Wednesday. And this way, it rotates. Same place, but it rotates so people can still, go to their own dance, but they can still attend. We also do, some of the areas have these dinner club book sales. We do these dinner club where we have so much off on different restaurants, and the clubs will sell the dinner club books, and this creates a pretty good little profit for the association. Okay, the entertainment books. Okay, we also have what we call the Promenader. It's a dance publication in our area, and once a year they have a Promenader benefit dance where all the local callers will be involved, and you get a little bit off your subscription when you sign up for that particular dance, usually in September. And with this dance, they have a clothing sale where people can donate their square dance clothing or whatever, and they sell it at that particular dance, and that also creates kind of a good little profit for it. Okay. As far as our Callers Association, the thing that we got to try to do, Betsy, I guess, is try to get people more motivated somehow to attend the meetings. And, you gave a few different ideas. We try to get some guys passing through, like you say, once a year to put on a presentation for us. But I guess what we try to do, we're in an area there's a lot of snow. Usually we get 1 or 2 or even 3 meetings canceled during the year. We had 127 inches of snow last year. But and this. Yeah, really. But I guess what we're trying to do is get people more motivated to come to the meetings, and you gave me some good ideas too, Arnold, for that. So,
thank you, Mike. Over here.
David Fullaway from Maui. Thank you, Betty, for this excellent presentation. When you go back to your organizations, each one of you, and report on what you are learning here, be sure to bring up Mike Seastrom's excellent talk this morning on the paradigm shift. We are entertainers, and the goal, and including your goal when you go back and look at goals, it should be fun. Entertainment and fun, and more fun. Some things we do on Maui, we have changed our advertising from Square Dance Club to Traditional American Folk Dance as a venue. We have created a dance now similar to a change. We changed, and I have a half-hour contra dance from 6:30 to 7. From 7 to 7:30, I teach Traditional American Folk Dance. And then from 7:30 to whenever, we have our club dance, which is mostly mainstream. The third thing we're trying to do very hard is create a demonstration team, an exhibition team that we can go to shopping centers or to different events and put on a short 3 to 5, 10-minute demonstration in parades. Dance in parades, in your local parades. Get out there and become known. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Which one, Betsy? We'll have ladies first. Ladies first. That's the proper way, right?
Oh, thank you very much. No, I just have a quick question for his demo team. Oh, I'm sorry. Dora Olson, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We used to always do demos, and we'd be very specific. You have to wear your square dance clothes. You have to always look happy. This was a long time ago, honey. We've been dancing a long time. And so what I'm asking him is now, when they're doing their demo, what kind of clothing do they wear? Because this was one of the things that I don't want to wear those.
Okay, David Fullaway from Maui again, replying to that question. We have some people in our club that are just dyed-in-the-wool dressers. We've got one lady that has 30 square dance dresses that are just handmade and fantastic, and she always wears those for everything, whether it's a demo or not. Because we don't want to be known as a specialized dress-up group only, we have a couple hippie-type people who come hippie type. But when we're doing on an exhibition, so there's a wide range. Sometimes we ask a tourist that happens to be coming through at that time, visiting people from the mainland, and they don't bring square dance clothes, so we tell them just wear your shorts and aloha shirt, and we bring this up, and as we're talking about demonstration, we let them know that this is for everybody and all groups, and everybody is welcome in our club and our dances, and it's fun, fun, fun.
At one of the sessions at a previous Color Lab, they mentioned that what they had made up for their demonstrations was like the polo shirts, like the golf shirt with a collar, and they had like square dancers on the back of the shirt. And so everybody wore a polo shirt and whatever else, shorts, jeans, skirt if they wanted to, whatever. They just wore casual clothes, but they had the square dance emblem on the polo shirt. So there's another idea.
Oh, yeah, everybody had to wear it. It was all square dance clothing. That was it. That was fun.
Keith Ferguson, Saratoga, California. I really had a question for Jim, but first I'd just like to respond that for our beginners class this year, our vice president of the club, who's in charge of the class, told the club members, don't wear square dance clothes to the first night of beginners class. Don't scare them away. Later on, if you want to, that's okay. But I also want to make a comment about our Callers Association because we have a newly elected president who unfortunately could not be at Caller Lab this year because of a family problem. But I think he's doing something that may revitalize us. I've been really concerned about our association. We have a shortage of callers in our area. We have some new callers coming along. So we are basically guaranteeing the cost of a haul and plan to, on the alternate months when we don't meet, have a hoedown called by the newer callers. And one of our callers claims to have managed to get 50 dancers that are willing to show up and pay, I think, $5 a piece to dance to the newer callers, which hopefully will pay for the haul and make it financially viable. But the idea is to give these newer callers a chance to get out and call because it's very hard in our area to find a reasonably priced hall. And if you're a newer caller, you can't go out and take a chance that I'm going to start a class and reserve a hall and pay for it. And I think that may help our whole association. My question for you, Jim, was you said that you had no dues for the San Diego Association. And as petty as it sounds, I know in our Dancers Association area, some clubs have dropped out claiming because they say, well, we pay all these dues and all it does is send the president of the association off to state council meetings and things like that they don't see as worthwhile. It also pays for the insurance, which they can get other ways. How do you manage to get by without having dues?
Now, here's the pat answer. That's just the way we've always done it. It's a terrible answer, right? Terrible answer. But fortunately, we were organized through the city of San Diego, and we have accumulated funds over the years. Actually, in 1956, when I attended my first national convention in San Diego, they generated a surplus from that, and that has helped fund things. We basically, pie in the sky, established a building fund, which in California you can't afford to buy a square inch for $1 million, much less enough to build a hall. So we've accumulated some funds for that. But basically, we generate enough income from the monthly dances we hold in our annual festival. So that pretty much pays the bills. But we, too, reimburse our president for attending the California Square Dance Council meetings, and as your association does, Santa Clara Valley. And we feel like it's worthwhile to be represented in the state organization and bring back information from other areas.
Here. Sheldon Lawrence from Wichita, Kansas. And I've got a couple of success stories that we have. We buried our Callers Association about 10 years ago, and then we revised it. Buried it because everybody was saying, I don't want to do this anymore. Then we rewrote the Constitution and bylaws, which wasn't very much. And then we got into here about 5 years ago. We tried to figure out a way to support our local callers. A lot of traveling callers coming through. And the local callers said, well, we're not getting dances. So we created a thing called Last Tip Dangle. And what the Last Tip Dangle was is in order to receive a dangle from the caller, that was going to call that dance. It had to be a local caller. You had to dance the last tip. Okay? So this was callers, round dance cuers, clogging, line dance, whatever we had there. And the benefit is if you received about 73% of the dangles, you were then invited to a dinner, which we call the last tip, dangle, dance, dinner dance. It really gets something. But we have this the third week in August. And 5 years ago, we had 35 people that got that. There were about 4 people that got, I think we had 15 or 16. But if you get the total amount, then you get an award. And the first one that received all the dangles called, they have a number they call, they got a bigger award, a plaque. It has grown from 35 people. Last August, we had about 85, I believe it was. And this coming August, we feel we're going to have close to 100. And the people are really supporting and try to figure out how to get that local caller. And this is new callers that we bring in, too. You got to get their badges, so you get out and so forth. And it's grown, and it's become quite a success story for our area. And we have figured out a way to support your local callers, basically what we've done there.
Is hosting the 2008 National Convention help revitalize the
It put a lot of work on us. We had ceremonies, and I think everybody had something or other. But it charges your batteries. It's a lot of work, and but this was just our own success story. Another thing that a couple of us have done at our state square dance convention, about 4 years ago, we decided we're campers. So we go camp out on the parking lot, and we noticed on Thursday night before the Friday night dance that campers were there and nothing happened. So we started this thing called an Outback party. We supplied the hamburgers and hot dogs, and everybody brought, as campers do, or if you're staying at a hotel or something like that, you pick up something from the local store. And that has grown every year, so now they advertise it for us as part of the state convention for the campers and everybody to come together on Thursday night. That's it, a tailgate party and so forth. So thinking out of the box and keeping things going. We also, a couple of years ago, started graduating our students at a dance because we never could get the students to go to a dance. And the last 2 years, all the students graduated at a dance, and we've retained them, and they're still dancing. So that was a success story. Thank you.
Susan Morris from Redmond, Washington. I have some... Okay, our Callers Association is very small because in our region we have mostly guest callers, so there's very few local club callers. And we're at very different places. There's 2 gentlemen that are in their mid-80s and are at the end of their career. There are callers that are club callers, and then there's callers like me that are newer and just teach, but don't call that many dances. So we're at very different places and try to meet all those needs. Plus, we're at Caller Cuer Association, so to meet callers and cuers' needs is our challenge. What our Dancer Association does to support the clubs is they have a Round to It badge. So there's like 20 clubs in our association, and the newer dancers particularly, but longtime dancers are catching on. If you dance at 15 out of the 20 clubs, you get a Round to It badge. So that's how they get people out to all the dances. How our Callers Association is supporting the dancers, particularly the newer dancers, is we hold summertime dances when most clubs are dark every week all summer to keep the newer dancers dancing, and that's helped some of the clubs. Betsy Gotta here again. And since people have been talking, I've been jotting down things that I did not remember to say. Social activities. Beside having your square dance or your meeting or whatever, do something else together. We already talked about the last tip dangle and a dinner. In our area, we have several minor league ball games, and we've had the association sponsor a trip to the ball game, to the minor league game. You can bring your family, even if they don't dance. If you get enough in numbers, you get your name on lights on the scoreboard, so you get publicity. Plus, it's a fun activity, and with the one team, we had an opportunity. Unfortunately, it rained, and we could not follow through. But we had enough tickets sold, we would have had an opportunity to demonstrate on the field prior to the game, to dance a tip or a singing call. And question, what would we have worn? What you wear to a ball game in the summertime, shorts and a T-shirt. But what we encouraged people to do was wear a T-shirt that said something about square dancing, so that we got the square dance word out, but we didn't look like we had people in funny clothes all the time. Mentioned the last tip. Our Callers Association has a card with all the names listed, and people have to get signatures, kind of like the Century Club, but in a local thing. If they get a certain number of signatures, they get a dangle to put on their badge. So that encourages it. Further north in New York, the Hudson Valley Association, some of the clubs there were struggling, and they sponsored what they called the Club of the Month. And so they designate this club as the Club of the Month, and they encouraged other clubs to visit specifically on that night, so that would give a boost to attendance, and they rotated that around to every club for different months. And I believe that it's given a boost to all of the clubs, because people, even if even if one or two couples from another club, and there's 5 other clubs show up, you've got another square and a half. So it was the Club of the Month idea.
Anybody new first?
Mike Callahan again. To the lady about the demos, our association encourages people to wear a mixture of clothing. Casual, Western, not all square dance clothes by all means. And the caller associations, if you have some new guys, you got to let them call, or they lose their enthusiasm about it. I have a Sunday night club, which I wasn't there this Sunday because I'm here. But I strongly encourage them to hire a guy who's called maybe about 3 or 4 years to teach the class and to do the club. We do it on Sunday nights. And he was so excited about this that you can't believe. So, you got to give these guys and ladies a chance to call. You can't just let them sit there.
Even in the snow.
Yeah, David Fullaway from Maui again. And one more I'm going to say, as you go back and report to your clubs and organizations and have this sheet that Betsy Gotta made up, posted on your bulletin board, and bring it up at your board meetings, and to spread this word. Communication is very important, as she said, on using more than one form of communication. Most of us are callers, and some of us are probably calling at functions, Boy Scout, Girl Scout. We probably all do our share of work, but maybe not all of us. I'm on Maui, and I did use about 10 more people who are trained to do one-night stands and parties. And CALLERLAB has had a program for about 12 years now to teach people and give the people those skills. Now, I don't expect everybody to go to that, but I would like to see 10 people from Maui go into those programs. And coming back to Maui, because they're the ones that are going to create the people that are going to be interested in coming to my club and dancing. And that's our lifeblood. So support and push our community dance program.
Sheldon Lawrence again. I want to explain on the dinner. This dinner is all done by our Callers Association. It's the best meal that they've had since Christmas because it is a turkey dinner. And we started out with a couple of turkeys. Now we're doing 5. And, I mean, we have the dressing. We have everything is put together, and we run it like a restaurant. We have waiters, waitresses. We have a maitre d', and we have a buffet line where the waiters go through and get the meal, and all the people have to do is come in and sit down. And then we have a little dance afterwards that everybody gets a chance to call. So it's the thing about the dancers that leave there. They want to come back the next year, and so that's what really helping it.
Kathy Boggs, Spokane, Washington, and just on, you spoke of the Callers and Cuers Association meetings, and ours is getting to be a stalemate, and I don't know that we could go quarterly. Maybe we could. Right now it's working because we have it on Sunday afternoons. Usually it's every 2 months is when we have it after our association meeting. But it's just a stalemate. We don't have any new topics. And I've got a few that I've written down from people that have talked, you know, the war stories and the get-outs, and that can be some new topics that we can do. But if anybody has some new ideas for Callers and Cuers to do, it's just that we discuss the same thing. What happened at anything new with CALLERLAB, anything new with Revitalization, what's the next MCs for our next party dance. And that's it. And then we wrap it up and go home. So it's getting to the point where participation is getting lower and lower. The same people that come, and we're at a stale point. So any ideas?
Thank you, Arnold. Betsy Gotta again. I do a caller school with Tom Miller, and one of the sessions that we did this past year could be done by other callers associations. It turned out to be really a neat idea, which came from one of the students, and that was analyze a tip. And we picked I was the person who did the calling this particular year. Next year, if we do it again, someone else will call. What happened was the group picked, say, one call. I picked a second call, and I built a theme around that, which is what I like to do when I'm calling. And I called a tip, which we filmed. And then we had a TV, and we played the film back. Now, the people in the room had danced the tip. They played the film back, and Roy was able to stop it, and people would raise their hand and stop it, and we'd run it back, and they say, now, what were you doing here? Why did you do that way? How did you do that? And we basically, it was an hour session and a 4-minute patter, and it took us the rest of the hour to analyze the patter. But what these callers got was what was going through my head at that time. What was my plan? Or my brain was like on empty and I had no plan. I was calling a module. But that's an important thing for them to know, especially if you're a newer caller or even an experienced caller. Sometimes an experienced caller is in a rut and they want to do something else and they don't know how to do it. So if you can try that's kind of a more up-to-date thing with the different media. But you'd have to get a TV set, you'd have to get a video camera, but it would be worth planning, and then you could build it up as a big idea.
I think the one thing that comes to mind, too, when you ask what can be done, if you're talking about a callers association, there's always the challenge of doing something different, something more different way, and what you should do is look for something different that you could present, and that's where we had success. We'd find some guy that could present some different thing that was related, such as we had a guy one time do how to handle a hexagon thing. If you got a club night and you're at the end of the night and you want to mess around with that, because the guy knew how to do it. And he said, well, present it to the rest of the callers. They could experiment with it. Or we did some simple stuff like that that was fun, or a gimmick stuff, showing how to do a triple centers in to get everybody facing the same way. Hey, here's a cool gimmick to get everybody's attention. And this guy knew how to do a triple centers in, and the little routine where they end up all facing you. And then he showed that. We got it. That was our callers meeting. That was a topic, and we had to advertise it. If you find things like that, they'll come because they're interested in something they haven't seen or haven't tried, and put that on the agenda. And generally, it's going to be a safe bet for callers associations if you're planning a meeting, something that's a gimmick with a get out, with a get in, with a trick or something to move the dancers around. They get off on that because we all live to move them around and put them back together, move them around, put them back together. It's not as much fun for dancers, but we sure have fun getting them in a thing, and had a guy make an L, and he says, "Man, you guys look like L out there." Oh, that was a cool gimmick. It was a cool gimmick. He put them in at a 5x3 and a few simple calls. And then we also challenge them. We did things like, okay, we're going to mix them up, and you get them out in 2 calls. Caller games. They love that stuff. And that we found that that's a way, if you say, hey, this is going to be caller game meeting for the hour of our work session, our caller association. We got some new cool caller games. You come try them out. Challenge. They like things like that. So
one of the things we did this year was because during our summertime dances, I schedule 2 callers per night, so we have a chance to work with each other. But what I did one workshop meeting this year, everybody bring your music, because some of the music, I want to buy it, but they have it, so you can try it out and see if you want to buy it, or this might be a good time to do a duet, different things like that. That was fun.
Louis Friedlander, General Chairman, 60th. I've noticed that, you get these associations, and yes, they die. And when you start doing something new, don't give up on it. It takes time to get the word out. Because if you try it this week or this month, and next month at your meeting you try it again and say, oh, it's not a success, you give up on it, you lost. You got to get the word out. If a caller or a dancer comes and he has fun, he'll come back. I don't care what the meeting is or what you're doing. But don't give up on it. Give it a year. Give it time to have a success. Thank you.
Dave Fullaway, Maui, one more time. A gimmick that we used a bunch of years back, what really worked out, was create a call. We had our dancers create a call, and then they had to call it. And it was a dancer, not necessarily a caller, but a person in the club. And one person stood up, and Crocodile Dundee had just come out, and the term walkabout. So if you need a gimmick or a new get out, it's really neat. You teach it. And the teacher is walkabout. And when your whole square is so messed up, you're doing exploding squares or something terrible and you can't do it, just call walkabout. They have 8 beats to get back to their original spot. And if they're really messed up, a grand walkabout is 16 beats.
I want to thank Jim and Arnold for their participation. I want to thank all of you for giving your ideas. I think we've covered pretty much everything. Susan was, a couple of other people were talking about making sure the new callers have chances to call. After our CCNJ, Callers Council of New Jersey, sponsored the callers classes, we also we're lucky we had some money in the Treasury, and we sponsored dances where it was first invitation only. The new caller could bring 1 or 2 couples. We had a small hall, and the idea was if you are a newer caller, you may not be ready yet for the general public. And unfortunately, the general public may be unforgiving. So that if you call to a bigger dance, and you're really not ready for it, 10 years later, when you're ready for the last 5 years, they're still not going to hire you because they go, I heard Betsy and she was awful. Well, it's been 10 years. Maybe I got better. Nah. Thank you. Thank you, Keith. So nice to have friends. But the point being, what we held, like, first we held private dances almost. They were invitation only, so the new callers could work with each other and get it. Sometimes we paired them off so they were working together on a tip to give them different experiences. So it's another way. Now we're holding more open dance, the invitation. And what happened in our area was the Dancers Association got very enthusiastic once these people had been calling for a couple of years. And during their summer dances, these summer dances did not have rounds. So instead of rounds, they had like a singing call or a patter call by one of the newer callers. So say I was doing one of the summer dances, and a gentleman named Wes was my newer caller, so I would do a tip, and then Wes would do a singing call, and then I would do another tip, and so Wes had a chance to show off, and the experienced caller, the one that was hired, and the new caller who was being showcased could work out how they wanted to work together. So I think Wes and I finished the dance together, doing a duet, but they gave them a chance to shine, and some of them are now being hired by different clubs, which is really cool because, of course, they're enthusiastic and they're revitalizing some of the other clubs. You get new blood, they go out and get other people. So I thank you all for participating. Arnold, thank you very much. Do you have anything else to say? And Jim, you're okay? And I thank you all for participating. Have a good lunch, and please put on your critique sheets if you think this should be done again or not.